So in this video, I'm going to show you the first part of label interactivity. The goal for this larger topic is to enable kind of automated processes. So essentially, every container, every column, every section has a label that you can assign. So this is this field here. And whenever we find a matching label on element, a ticket, a note, we basically can compare those and then automatically trigger certain operations like move an element into a specific column. So that's kind of the end goal. What we have achieved so far is interactivity within already existing containers. So if an element is already within a container, we also previously have displayed these little labels here. What you can do now is you can click on them and it gives you all of the other options within that same level. So we are in team 2 here. We have set it up with sprint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has these labels from SP1 to SP5. And if I click on that, all of the alternatives are shown. And if I then select one of them, I'm automatically moving elements into that label, into that section. And that not only works here. I mean, here I could definitely also just drag and drop, but it also works in overview mode. So if I want to move this to SP2 instead, then I can do that from overview mode. And it doesn't stop there. So if you go into the board settings, there's also an option to now have elements display the column labels as well. So if I turn that on, you can see that now, in addition to the sections, you also see the different columns show up here. And same thing, if I now click on that on the same level. So in that case, I'm on the column level, so I see all of the other options here. I can move stuff between the columns also. So if I want this one here to move from team 1 to team 2, I can click it and it will move over. And what we do here is, if we find a corresponding section, so let's assume I want to move this particular ticket here that has already been assigned to sprint 5. I want to reassign that from team 2 to team 4. Can click here. I assign it to team 4 and it will move over, but it maintains its section assignment. So since both team 2 and team 4 have a section that's called SP5, it will stay in that section. So if we now say, okay, what would happen if that is not the case? So let's go in here. I'm just deleting sprint 5 here. And you can see that we have a default set here. So if I now move something from here, which is also in sprint 5, into team 4, since sprint 5 is not available here, it will automatically move into the default section. If I now remove the default, it will automatically get dropped into the oh, sorry, that was already in sprint 4, so that's not what I wanted to show. Let's move this back. So this one here, because obviously sprint 4 is available, so let's put this into sprint 5 as well. If I now move this one into the 4, it will fall into the first category that is available. So default can be set, of course, to any sprint. So maybe we'll show that here, since now the end result was 2 times the same thing. So let's say we set sprint 3 as the default, and I'm moving this one here now into here. Since that's the default, it will land here. So basically, this can be used to quickly manage tickets in overview mode. So if you are thinking of a PI planning session and you have your various teams set up this way, and you would like to distribute work across, but you would like to kind of do it on the high level rather than having all of the individual teams be expanded like this. Of course, now you have a much more compact view, and you can still control where specific elements will land. So another way to look at this is to basically set up different categories, different sections for a column in expanded view. And that, is something that you could define. So it could also be, priority, very high, medium priority, low priority, very low priority. You set it up once, but then basically everything you do while looking at the board is in overview mode. So it's a quick way to customize how elements are being shown, and you don't always have to go back to this very kind of space-consuming view. You can, of course, if you need to, you can then take a look at the high level only, while still being able to move it between different categories here. So I personally know that it will help me quite a bit in my own planning exercises, and I hope that others will find that useful as well. As for next steps in this specific area, what we have started working on is adding yet another layer, which is moving between different boards. So now that we have the ability to add multiple boards that you can move around, you could automatically move from, let's say this is team 1, this is team 2, you have 4 sprints here, 4 sprints here. If that's how you set it up, then you will be able to go into the settings here. You have a third option to also show board labels and then move it between them. And you can combine and mix and match whatever kind of interactivity you want to achieve. So that's one thing. The other thing that we'll be working on is when you have an element sitting out here somewhere on the whiteboard, and you basically just add a label like this. So let's say we call it T1, because that's the label that is assigned here. If I add that as a manual one and it finds a corresponding match, you can basically click on that and move it into an existing container. So think of a brainstorming session where you have a lot of ideas. You start assigning labels to them based on importance, for example. Then you set up a board with different columns, from very important to least important. And then with a single click, you can move those elements into the board without having to do that manually. And we are also starting to look into not only doing that for manually created labels, but for labels that you get directly from, let's say, Jira. So we have an example here where there is a priority, medium. So if we would set up a board that has 3 columns based on the available priorities in Jira, you could then also use that to move something into the column. And that really then builds the basis for us trying to start investigating how we could sync those changes back into Jira as well. So that will be yet another step, but that's kind of what we're thinking here, what we would like to achieve as the end goal. And what we already released in the last sprint is this ability to customize the view. So that kind of ties into that. So if I need specific things, like let's say priority is one that we already have, but let's say I want to categorize those tickets by type, I can enable that now. It shows up as a label here, and in extension will be then a potential matching target for moving that into a specific area as well. So that's kind of how all of those things come together. So you enable the label that you would like to use for automation, and then you set up a container that has a matching label, and then you can move that. And that's really how you can kind of fully customize those workflows. So we had the Jira customization already last sprint. What we have added now in this iteration is the same ability for agility as well. So as an admin, you get this little configuration button up here, and you can then also set which fields you would like to see in the editor, as well as which fields would you like to see on the ticket itself. So same functionality, and that's really is building up towards this end goal of being able to then automatically move elements around based on the labels and corresponding containers. So yeah, play around with it, and I'm curious what you think. Thank you.